and again, even though you try and you really make your roles your own, it's still not up to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I began to really think, how is this going to change? And it wasn't going to change unless I made it change.
Have you ever wondered if your job or position is safe from layoffs? How do you face the ups and downs of working for a large or a small company? And then what is the tipping point for you to decide to venture out and start your own business? What if you're a single mom with 2 kids depending on you? Are you prepared for those ups and downs? How will you handle it when your faith is truly shaken? And how will you truly take control of your destiny now? Join me as I talk with Rosie Marin and hear about her journey through corporate climbing and corporate roadblocks and the steps that she took as a single mom to change her career path and really take control of her destiny. So like Rosie, I have been through some of those career successes and challenges, and I also decided to take control of my destiny and start my own business. But unlike Rosie, I only have furry kids depending on me and my livelihood, and they're a bit more forgiving. Being a single mom and facing those challenges is a whole other level. I'm also similar with Rosie in that I decided I needed to diversify my income source and not solely rely on my corporate employer. And I invested in my first rental property a few years ago. And I'm very grateful because during these interesting times, it's been a huge help and a personal stepping stone. So I'm really excited to talk with Rosie to hear more about her story, how she dealt with all of it, all the highs, the lows, the self-doubt, how she kept her faith in tough times, and how it's really shaped who she is today. Rosie is a human resource and training expert and a leader of cross-functional teams in change management, strategic planning, corporate communications, talent management, and service delivery. So I love that you consider yourself to be a critical thinker, focusing on process improvement and creating value. Rosie has several businesses, including her own consulting business, so Rosie Marin Consulting, Taxes for You, Purple Creek Properties, and has recently become a licensed realtor with Century 21 Judge Fight. Did I say that right, Rosie? Judge Fight?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And I love also that you note that it was your love of helping people coming through in that threads all of these businesses together. So welcome, Rosie.
Thank you, Wendy. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very, very excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here too. So as you know, this is Life Reimagined.
Yes.
And so helping others through our stories better navigate the twists and turns that life can throw our way, and how this has helped us. Sometimes the challenges become more of a blessing in hindsight. So talk about and share the experience and the kind of the path that led you to get you and me talking today. And then as we come back to later, we're going to talk about the book we're collaborating on, but share about your story and how you got here.
Thank you. My story is not something that's uncommon. In fact, I would say that especially in today's times, there are a lot of people who go through this. And it was basically, I was getting laid off, and as I look back, you're right, these were all sort of challenges in life that a lot of people go through, but I really looked at, what was I doing wrong? Was this my fault? Could I have done something better? And so even though people and companies and organizations would tell me, well, don't take it personal,
Right.
You did a good job. And I thought, wow, I really went out of my way to do a good job. I still took it personal. These were jobs that I really loved. I loved every experience I had there. I loved the people I worked with. I loved the environment I was in. And yet, when it came down to it, it was somebody else's decision, right?
Right.
And that was the hardest part. I had no control over that part of it. And so it started getting old. You go through the first one, you're heartbroken. You go through the second one, you go, okay, I think I can get through it. You go through the third one and you're like, God, am I getting really used to this? This is no way to live, you know?
Right.
And again, even though you try and you really make your roles your own, um, it's still not up to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I began to really think, how is this going to change? And it wasn't going to change unless I made it change, right? We
Right.
always hope that somebody else can go ahead and take the reins, and you come to a realization, especially as an adult, right?
Yes. Right.
That you have to take control of that destiny. I was a single mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I have two kiddos.
Yeah.
And the scariest thing through those moments is, how am I going to pay my rent? How am
Right.
I going to pay my electric bill? Oh gosh, I promised my daughter this, or I promised my son this, or they're in a comfortable life. Is that going to be disrupted? You
Right.
know? And then, of course, you also wonder, is my stress showing for my kids? And so now, are they stressing? And what
Right.
are they
Because you're
thinking?
modeling behaviors and your
Absolutely.
resilience. Yes.
Absolutely. And so, even though you try to make a life as comfortable as you possibly can for your kids, and you always want to make that better for them, um, it's a stressful situation. So I basically said, okay, what can I do? What do I have control over that can help me navigate through these twists and turns, as they happen? And knowing that I wasn't special for for getting laid off, that I was just one of a couple 100,000 of people who were going through this. But I did say, okay, but what makes me different?
Mm-hmm.
And what made me different, I thought, is that I had to do something about it. So I put those wheels in motion. Um, Part of it is I started to really research, and it starts with as simple as getting a notebook, writing down what you think you know, because it's not until later that you find out you really didn't know a lot, right?
Right. Right.
um, and making calls and not being afraid to ask the tough questions like, what's my next step and what do I need to do? And seeking advice of people that I respected who were in business on their own and how they got there. That started my journey. I also saw other people that I knew and how they were successful. I knew what I wanted to emulate and what I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I also knew what I wanted to get out of it. Meaning, I obviously wanted some financial stability, but I also wanted freedom to spend more time with my family, with my kids. And sometimes owning your own business or being self employed is a double edged sword.
Yes.
Because if somebody tells you, oh, you can just come in, work an hour, have all day, that's not true.
No. No.
And so finding that work life balance was important. And truth be told, I'm not great at that, because I still sometimes have that corporate mentality. You have to work, 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 work. And you can sprinkle in family time in between, but that's not true. It's not true. You have to um, purposefully and intentionally
Mm-hmm.
schedule that time.
Yeah.
And I think I've been doing a little better with that. Um, it may be that I tell myself I deserve it, and that I think has a lot to do with the support system that you come across as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very lucky in that my mom and my two sisters have been a tremendous support system. In fact, they're the reason why I came to the DFW area.
Right. Right.
And because I'm not originally from the Dallas Fort Worth area, I'm from El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
And just to leave El Paso was kind of a journey. You pack
Yeah.
up the kids, a 24-foot truck, and you're hauling your car, and you're driving for 14 hours with a cat in it. It's quite an
Yeah.
adventure.
Yeah. That's a whole nother adventure. Exactly.
And you're not coming because you found a job. You're coming in hopes of, right?
Right.
And so
So that's a big leap of faith. That
it
is.
really is. It really is. And so I'm very thankful that I had that support system.
Mhm.
Uh, I would say that as part of the journey has also, or what has helped a lot is that I have found a lot of inspiration in the people that I have come to meet. And
Mhm.
um, I'm such a sap. Can I tell you this? I'm such a sap. I cry at like McDonald's commercials and Hallmark cards but that shows a lot of who I am. I'm very emotional. I'm a very people person kind of, I want to hug everybody. And um, so I learned that instead of it being a weakness, it could be a strength.
Mhm.
And that has helped me in my businesses. Um, and I'll give you a quick story. As you mentioned, you invested in a rental property,
Mhm.
and I love seeing your TV shows where they show you can buy a distressed home, quick turnaround.
Flip it. I know. Flip it in a half hour.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely. Make thousands and thousands of dollars immediately. And I bought into it. I wanted to do that because I thought, okay, I need to diversify my income, right? I need to find different ways. And so I thought this could certainly be one of those. I could nail a hammer. I could paint. I could
Yeah.
totally do
Yep.
this. Um, so I took advantage of that enthusiasm and I went full blown and I invested into real estate properties. Um, now the process I loved. I absolutely loved. And then I loved the fact that I could provide a home for a family later on. And I found that I loved that process even more, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
of interviewing the rental families that were interested and in learning about their story and why this could be the perfect home for them. And so then it would just make me go out of my way and paint it a nicer color and put the nice blinds instead of the cheap blinds because I could see a home for them, right? I've been so lucky in that the families that have rented from me have stayed since they first started.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's
That's huge.
I consider them friends now. It's a common theme, I think, to have a high turnover in
Mhm.
rental. But I
Mhm.
think one thing we forget is that we're dealing with people. And if you treat people with respect and dignity, you get that in return. I've been
Mhm.
so lucky. That has helped me diversify my income some
Mhm.
because I know that the better I treat them, the more likely they are to stay,
Yeah.
which means that the more likely I am to receive a rent, right? It's allowed me that opportunity to know that that could be part of my retirement plan,
Mhm.
right?
Right. Something that you don't have to be sitting in the office 9 to 5 to do till you're 80, right?
Correct.
Something, so you're building this additional revenue path or stream, so that it's not a matter of you retire at a certain age and get the gold watch from the company anymore, right?
Right.
Diversify and figure out some ways to keep revenue coming in longer term.
Yes. And I would strongly suggest anybody who has the opportunity to do so
Mm-hmm.
and enjoys working with people to do so, because it truly is, as you mentioned, it's a way to diversify your income, but it's also a long-term plan for that retirement.
Right.
Um, and along with that, my other businesses have been really good to me too. I own Taxes for You, which is a tax preparation business. It's seasonal, but again, it's allowed me to meet new people.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those clients have now become my real estate clients
Yeah.
because, again, it's about building the relationship with them, right?
Right.
Them becoming friends, me learning about their wants and desires as well. And so going into real estate was a perfect fit for me. I remember distinctly I was having lunch with one of my friends who was a realtor
Mm,
or
okay.
is a realtor. In fact, she's the one that I bought the rental properties with. And she said, Rosie, you would be great for this. And I questioned it a little bit, and I said, well, I'm not really sure because it's not stable income. And she really pushed and she said, I really think that you should try this. Well, when my last job ended and that chapter, had to close, I thought, okay, this is my opportunity to not just play a character in somebody else's book and in somebody else's chapter, but to really write my own. And I took it and I ran with it. And so now I have found that that also allows me an opportunity to be a full-time mom to my daughter who is still in high school. In fact, today was her first day of back
Oh,
to school, in
yeah.
person.
Right.
And I thought, how lucky am I? How lucky am I that I'm able to drive her to school? I'm able to pick her up from
Yeah.
school. And I'm able to, in between, help other people also realize their dreams. And
Mhm.
so that it just fuels my fire. It makes me just giddy just to think about it. It gives me goosebumps when I make somebody's day. And I just continuously look for that. Uh, it, it has helped me by helping others. Uh, it has given me an opportunity to meet other wonderful people and just be inspired by their stories as well. Um, and even though it's still scary, right? Um, your income is never 100% secure. But
Right.
I think the idea of setting processes in place and systems that allow you to continuously be looking for other ways to make income is important. It's allowed me to provide for my family. It's allowed me to, as emotional as this might be, it's allowed me to dream, and it's allowed me to think that the future is bright and that it can be done.
So you, throughout your story, you're bringing up very, I think, critical steps that I want to make sure anyone listening to what you just shared really gleans out of it, because it's like you said, it's very simple, either through layoff or they've eliminated positions, or especially this time with COVID, they're shutting down 30,000 positions, so it's hard not to take it personal, and it's hard not to think you did something wrong, right? But in the middle of that, you do have to face the tough questions that uh, some people may be putting off. So I think the, reflection is critical. And then I think the research piece that you just brought out is another piece that probably isn't talked about enough, is that you actually sought out mentors, you thought through what your strengths are, what you enjoy doing. And so it's not just like you just, left a job this day and then the next day started flipping houses, or,
Yeah.
like you said, just 1, 2, 3, everything just falls magically into place, right? Just doesn't happen that way. So there is, there's reflection, there's research, there's resiliency for those ups and downs. But then it's reimagining. And like the other piece you just mentioned, because this has also happened to me, so I just can identify, is when someone says, you'd be really good at that because of the traits that they know of your character. And you never saw yourself as a realtor, right? So, I know, we're maybe a little too quick to go, no, that's not the mold, or that's not the label for me. But then being more receptive to what God, the universe, what you believe in, what they're opening up for you,
Yes.
creates these paths that, like you said, you feel like you're living this, not living a dream, but living much closer to what you really would love if you were, writing your own story, right? And it gives you so much more freedom to do what you want with your life.
Absolutely.
So talk about one of the most unexpected outcomes, whether it was good or bad. What's something that you never saw, like when you took all these twists and turns and where you are today, um, that you didn't see coming? I talk about, like, I started gardening this summer. I never saw myself gardening, but I love it. But it's because now I can invest time into creating my own, fruits and vegetables and stuff, and I love it. So I never would have thought that that would be on my path, or a podcaster. Never thought that this would be part of my labels.
Yeah. One thing that was a great surprise, actually. So as I became a realtor, obviously I was, full force. Tell me what I need to do so I can get it done. I had my checklist. I was going. And you don't get a buyer and a seller your first month. Okay. It takes a couple of months, to really start, get that momentum going. And so I kept thinking, what else? What else? What else? What am I not doing to get going? And then all of a sudden, everything that I was putting an effort to started sprouting, right? All the seeds I had planted started sprouting. Yeah. And then I really saw that momentum going. And then I really started rocking and rolling, if you would. But one of the nice things that came out of it is that I became a mentor realtor in my company. And what that means is basically now when there's a new agent coming into the company, they can pair them up with myself, and I get to, kind of teach them a little bit of what the day in the life of a realtor looks like, or answer questions and kind of do that. And I didn't see myself as a mentor agent because I didn't see myself as a successful realtor. By no means am I, number one in the company. By no means am I, not even number 10 in the company, right? But I think that what I provided was vital, and that was time. I gave up my time to teach, which I love, but I never thought that being a realtor, I would have an opportunity to put the other skills that I truly loved into play. Being a mentor, I'm also able to make or diversify my income again, because that gives me a percentage of an extra commission, right? And
Oh, very good. I did not know this. Okay.
Yeah, and so now I'm able to, okay, I can make that a branch of my business as well.
Right.
And then of course, through them, I'm able to also hone in my own skills, right?
Right.
As I'm talking with them, sometimes that light bulb goes off and I'm like, I should make that into a repeat thing or into a system, right? And so it's really allowed me to focus in a little bit more, hone in my skills even more. And I think it's a great outcome that I would have never thought of. I didn't even know existed. So that's been a nice surprise.
Well, and one of the other key pieces I think of your story that we haven't talked about, but I'm sure you can share easily, is the support network you have too. And I think about, we grew up in a very different time in our culture, and I feel like we've got more of a significant other circle with us. Yeah. So, because the family dynamic and relationships have really changed over the 70s, 80s, 90s, and whatever. And so moving closer to your family, even though it was a lot of unknowns, talk about how not only your family, but also the people that you're working with, like you said, your rental families and those you surround yourself with. How do you keep investing in your significant other circle so that they keep giving back to you what you're getting as well, or what you're giving as well?
Yeah, and I think that's so important because, we all have families, right? We all have blood relatives. But I think that we also add to our family from people and friends. Those are our chosen family, if you will, yes. Right?
Yep.
And so I think that it's important, number one, to be true to yourself. Family is family. And what I mean by that is that as much as they love me and as much as I love them, we don't always agree on everything. Mm-hmm. And my mother, I'm a 50-year-old woman, by the way, but my mother, if she gives me the eye, I know. You know what that's like, right?
Yep. I have a little bit of lipstick on today because my mother will tell me if I didn't. Yep.
Oh my God, that's exactly my mom. She's like, you gotta put on some lipstick.
Your color, isn't that good? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, and so I appreciate that,
Yep.
But
Yep.
then you also have some friends who are also honest and blunt and will tell you, what in the world are you thinking?
Yep.
And I appreciate that as well, because I want someone to be honest with me. I want someone to say, don't ever wear that again.
Exactly. Right. Right.
Or don't ever say that again. Or have you ever thought of doing it this way?
Right.
Or have you ever thought of changing it up this way? And so that to me is very important. I've had, through my other previous jobs, I have a gentleman who's become one of my best friends. And him and I could not even see eye to eye at the very beginning. And so I've also learned to not judge a book by its cover, right? And when you
Right.
give someone an opportunity and you start learning from them, then you think, this really has a big influence on me. They have a lot to contribute, and I'm going to learn as much as I can while I can. And so I truly want to do better at intentionally spending time with friends and family and people that I meet. I think it's important. I think it's a lost art. Sometimes we get
Yeah.
so busy, right? Life happens.
Yeah.
But I feel comfortable though that I think our sphere of influence has the strength that if I needed to call someone, I fully feel that they would be there for me. I want them to know that I would definitely be there for them. And we can express that in so many ways, right? It doesn't
Right.
just have to be financially, it can be emotionally, it can be just to listen. Um, and I think that that's important. I think it's important to say thank you when you can. I think it's important to say I love you when you can. And again, I'm a stat, so
No, this is good. No, it's good. But it's investing in others. And I think sometimes, you get so busy in the day to day and you don't take time to reach out or even just text somebody, hey, I'm thinking about you. And now more than ever, I hope one of the positives that's come out of this whole really unusual year is that people are valuing their family and friends and holding them a little closer and making sure that they understand the
yes,
significance in their life.
yes, lots of virtual hugs.
Yes. And I'm a hugger and I hate not being able to hug anybody. It's terrible.
I miss that so much.
You know what? I hate this. Oh, okay. So as we came, as we've grown and we grew up in a very unique time, just for fun, I'm going to take you back. Let's look at something in the 80s or 90s, since we're both over that 50 line, right?
Yes.
So tell me about either a show or a song, a movie, something that as a kiddo growing up or a teenager, you went, ooh, either a light bulb went off or it was something that was significant for you or you just loved. Because I think our parents didn't have the same type of cultural influences that we had with MTV and cable and everything.
Right.
And a lot of, I think as women, especially men too, but we're really redefining 50 plus. And I think part of that is because of the unique time we grew up. So tell me about something entertainment wise that influenced you as a youngster.
As a youngster, so we got a TV when I was in my teens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we did not have a TV before, and it was a great aunt that bought that TV for us. And I distinctly remember it had the little knob, that you would turn the channel. And
Yes.
and of course, our TV time was very limited, you know. So most of it was as soon as we got home from school, we could watch TV, and my mom made dinner during that time. So the show that was on when we got home was Tom and Jerry. The cartoon,
Oh yeah,
Tom
the
and Jerry.
cartoon. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how funny that part of the cartoons there, which by the way, Tom and Jerry still today, very entertaining, but even my kids watch it now and they just laugh. I love to hear them laugh about it,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's awesome. But one of the episodes from the Tom and Jerry cartoon series was something called The House of Tomorrow. And it was this Do you
Oh,
remember that?
I think I do. I couldn't write it out, but I think I do remember.
And it was just, there was this very quaint little cottage house, and you would walk in and they would be like, oh, the toaster has its own timer, and the toast would come up properly. And then they would say, oh, this gadget has a screen and it tells you the time without you asking. And I'm like, okay, when I look back at all that, oh my God, somebody must have been reading the future, because now I look and we have refrigerators telling us the time now,
Right,
and
right.
Siri, and our Google phones, and so many of those gadgets that seem like, you
Yeah.
know, so much into the future, almost like James Bond like,
Yep.
we live with now. And
Yeah.
it's kind of neat to see that, how a lot of the gadgets, because we grew up in the time where, previous to cell phones,
Oh
previous
yeah.
to computers, and now here we are, we can't live without them. Just everything that's gone on during that time.
Yep.
So that's kind of my thing. I loved seeing, simple shows like that. When I became an adult, one of my favorites was Friends.
Oh
And
yes. Yeah.
that
Yep.
would make me laugh all the time. And it was one of my favorites. And again, my kids love Friends now. In fact,
Yep.
my daughter wore a Friends shirt to school today.
Oh, very good. Yeah, very good.
But it was again one of those things, as we were talking about, they were just friends who were
Yeah.
there for each other, became family, and that was just kind of how I envisioned my life, to have long lasting friends and things like that.
Check out her website, rosiemarin.com, and I'll have this again posted in the notes and on the video scrolling for more on how to learn from and work with Rosie. And then I hope you check out my website at DestinationU for several books and then a free downloadable resource to help you if you're in the middle of a career interruption or life transition. And I'm really excited that this series of podcasts include my colleagues and co-authors, including Rosie, on a book coming out later this month. So I hope you'll check back or watch for more information as I share more details in the coming weeks. And this is a group book and a follow-up to my Destination Unknown and In Her Shoes books. And this is a collaboration in which Rosie and I join other amazing women who are sharing their stories of how they encountered and overcame detours and the difficult chapters in their lives. And we hope it inspires, we hope it shares key insights to help others become mentally tougher and more resilient and come out better on the other side. So thanks so much, Rosie.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on here, and would love to keep connecting with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, Rosie, for sharing your story. And I hope it inspires others to more assertively lead in their life, take control of their destiny. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in.